Hi, Year 12s. Well done on a great first week back in remote learning. You all did some really good work last week, so keep it up. Just to get started with this lesson, I just want you to jump into the Google Doc and answer a do now relating to what we did in the last session. So the prompt is that trade is a key consideration to ensure economic sustainability in countries. Explain how trade promotes economic sustainability and suggest or discuss two ways that trade can promote health and well-being for citizens. So let's imagine that that is a 4-mark question and pop enough detail in to get those 4 marks. All right, in this lesson, we're going to look at the other pillars of sustainability or dimensions. So we're looking at social sustainability and environmental sustainability. And then we're going to look at how the 3 of them are interrelated. So just that reminder, sustainability refers to meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So making sure that everything that we kind of have or use is available in the future. We looked at economic sustainability last week. Today we'll look at social and environmental. So social sustainability, if you were to define it, would be creating an equitable society that meets the needs of all citizens and can be maintained in the future. Okay, so there's a few things to that. We've looked at equity a bit, making sure that people who need more support get it. We've looked at meeting the needs of all citizens in terms of having equity and equality and protecting vulnerable groups. But now we're kind of looking at what kind of things are important to make sure that that is maintained into the future. Similar to economic sustainability, there are some key considerations that you need to know for social sustainability. So one of the key considerations is eliminating poverty and providing social protection or social security systems when needed. Okay, so to have a sustainable social group moving forward, we need to get rid of poverty, and that might mean providing social protection systems. So this ensures that economic growth benefits everyone. Remember, we're talking about all citizens, and it provides social security when needed. So things like unemployment assistance, housing, food support, healthcare, all of those things we've looked at before. Another consideration is gender equality, and we've looked at this before, but it's really important to ensure sustainability moving forward. So at its most basic level, we could say that gender equality is ensuring equality in education and employment opportunities, and that in the long term increases productivity. If we have more women working, we have more people working. So it's really important that we have more girls and women being educated so that they can be productive and work. And this actually then contributes to economic sustainability. But more people working, more people paying taxes, and that provides money moving forward. Another consideration is access to safe and decent working conditions. Okay, and that can include a lot of things, but often we're looking at physical working conditions, looking at protecting workers in terms of the number of hours that they're working, ensuring they're getting paid properly, all of those kind of things. So this usually relates to laws and regulations to make sure that workers are protected. A big part of that, which is not really a big issue in Australia, but it is a very big issue around the world, is eliminating forced labour, which is basically people being forced to work for little or no money, and child labour. Child labour remains a huge issue around the world with very young children working really, really long hours in unsafe conditions, often in very physical work. Again, if we have safe and decent working conditions, people are more productive, they're less likely to get sick or injured, and they're more able to contribute to their society. Another consideration for social sustainability is promoting political and legal rights. Okay, so this often relates to our things like human rights. This ensures social opportunities for everyone, So again, looking at that kind of idea of equality. By having those opportunities, we're going to get equal participation in education, employment, which again, hopefully you're starting to think that leads to increased productivity, which can lead to economic sustainability. And this is really about protecting vulnerable groups. So that's often people that are in Indigenous communities, people from ethnic minorities, and also women, but that's covered in gender equality as well. And the last kind of main consideration that we'll look at is peace and security. Being in a state of peace and security obviously maintains individuals' health and well-being. That can be their physical health and well-being, their mental, their spiritual. It also increases productivity. Again, if people are in a safe environment, they're able to work. It increases trade. Often countries that are at war maybe don't have the resources to trade. Those resources are being used for other things, or they don't have relationships with other countries to promote trade. Also, by having peace and security, we've got the decreased cost of war. War costs huge amounts of economic money and also decreases the environmental costs of war. We'll come back and look at war and conflict in a week or so. So we'll cover these topics a bit more then. But just for now, just know that that's a key part of social sustainability. So once you've got those written down, just jump into question 1. It's a table where I want you to kind of summarize how each of these considerations impact social sustainability. And then I want you to try and link each one to a dimension of health and well-being. All right, moving on to environmental sustainability now. The definition for this would be ensuring that the natural environment is used in a way that will preserve resources in the future. And I think this is often what people think of when they think of sustainability. We talk about it a lot in an environmental sense. So hopefully some of these things are a bit familiar. An important part of this is that we should only be using resources at the rate that they are replenished. And this is a huge issue globally, that we are not doing this. We rely on resources that can't be replenished, so things like coal and gas and oil, which once they run out, they run out, and we are using things far more quickly than they can recover. Okay, so we've got a really big problem with using too much. Right, when we look at environmental sustainability, there's 4 key components that are necessary to ensure environmental sustainability. So the first one is biodiversity. If you're not a biology person, just a reminder, bio is living and diversity is obviously just kind of the difference or the range. So biodiversity is all of the living things on Earth. So that could be trees, that could be other plants, animals, humans, bacteria, anything that is living contributes to biodiversity. So to maintain biodiversity, we need to protect living things and their ecosystems, so the areas that they live in. This is absolutely crucial for a lot of things. Obviously, we need living things, especially trees and plants, to provide oxygen. We need living things to promote healthy water systems. Food, whether that is crops or animals that we rely on for food. Materials, that could be things like wood for building houses, or also things like cotton for clothing. Okay, so a lot of our products come from natural sources, and also medicines. Medicines primarily come from natural resources. Natural resources is about making sure that we are using things, like I mentioned before, with the replenishing, making sure that we're not overusing the resources that we have, okay? Resources could be things like water and food, which obviously if we use them wisely, we can kind of replenish. But then also we've got things like coal, gas, and oil, which are natural resources, but they are not replenishable. So we need to eliminate the use of these finite resources. Finite meaning that they will finish. So coal, gas, and oil, once they run out, they take millions of years to be produced. So they'll be gone. So in order to eliminate the use of these resources, we need to promote the use of renewable resources. So with things like food, that's looking at using kind of clever crops that grow quite quickly and can feed large amounts of people. For energies, that's looking at things like solar energy, wind energy, like we watched in the movie, hydro, water energy. They are all considered sustainable or renewable resources because we don't have to wait millions of years for them to provide us what we need them. Another component of environmental sustainability is waste removal and pollution. Okay, so there's kind of two components to this. The first one is minimizing waste. So especially non-biodegradable waste. So things like plastics, which take thousands of years to break down, we need to stop using them because our earth is literally filling up with waste. So minimizing waste by using biodegradable products. And you'll notice there's been a big shift in that recently. Things like banning single-use plastic bags, people trying not to use things like straws or takeaway cups so often, but there's still a huge amount of work to be done in this area. But then where there is waste, ensuring that that waste is properly disposed of. Okay, and that's really important for protecting our air quality, so reducing air pollution, protecting our water quality. This is a huge issue in both the ocean and in riverways. Pollution is literally making our waterways dirty and unsafe, and also in protecting our soil quality. And obviously soil is necessary to grow crops and foods that we need, to grow trees that we need for oxygen, requires healthy soil. And our last component of environmental sustainability, and this is probably the one you hear of the most, is climate change. So we need to massively reduce carbon emissions. So things like burning coal and gas and oil, all of those things that we use pollute the atmosphere with huge amounts of carbon. So in order to reduce these, we need to be investing in renewable resources. Okay, so they're very closely linked to these two. And if we do this, we will be able to slow and hopefully even eliminate the rate of global warming. But it really is a pressing issue. It needs to happen very, very soon. We need a massive change in our carbon emissions. So once you've written those down, just jump in and answer question 2. Similar to the first one, summarize each of these and how it promotes environmental sustainability. And then I want you to link that back to a dimension of health and well-being. All right, the study design also specifies that you need to be able to understand and discuss the interrelationships between the dimensions. And that's kind of come up a little bit already in the examples that we've looked at, but how economic sustainability can impact on social, social can impact on environmental, and vice versa. I think the best way to really understand this is to look at some examples. So I want you to go into question 3 and just try and think if you can link an element of economic sustainability to both social and environmental. And if you're really, really struggling with that, move straight on to the case study where a few of the examples are a bit more obvious, and then you can go in and answer that table later. But the case study, there's about a page worth of information to read. There's also a short 4-minute video. I want you to watch that first. And it's about Nauru, which is a very small island nation not far from Australia. You may have heard of it as being the place where Australia has housed a detention centre, an immigration detention centre. But it actually has a very interesting history itself, and it's, I mean, not a good example, but it is a good example of really failed sustainability, where it used to be one of the richest countries in the world, but because they didn't take the right measures to ensure economic, social and environmental sustainability, it's now one of the poorest and least healthy countries in the world. So watch the video, read through the information, and then answer those questions at the end. And that's it for today. Thank you.